Hello, this is Mike Larson, Manager of Business Intelligence Services at Intelenex. And if you're like me, you're getting excited about the upcoming Release 18 of CRM On Demand. But since we don't have Release 18 just yet, I'm going to show you a technique for reporting on user adoption that you can use now. Release 18, of course, is going to have some additional functionality, and we're all looking forward to that. We're going to have a new subject area that allows us to create some reports on user activity in the system, such as creating records, editing records, and so forth. But before we get Release 18, we might want to see how many of our users are actually using the application. Track some user adoption, if you will. Now, Oracle snuck in this little column into the owned by user dimension in many of our subject areas. So I'm going to show you a technique for using that column to create a user adoption report, sort of a login audit, if you will. So what I've done is in my CRM On Demand application, I'm going to switch over to that here, I've created a report, and you can see here I'm using the contact history subject area. And within the owned by user domain, you'll see that I have added some columns here. I'm using user ID. You, of course, could use username or something that's a little more meaningful. Since I'm posting this on the internet, I didn't want to show anyone else's actual name here. I've got the role column here, and then I've got this last sign-in column. And the last sign-in column is actually here in the owned by user domain, right? Now I've added that last sign-in column here, and I've also added it a couple of additional times and modified the formula. So what I have here is days since last sign-in, and that's just a simple calculation using the timestamp diff function to calculate the number of days since the last sign-in, number of days between last sign-in and current date. I also did a calculation for the average number of days by user role. And that formula is a little more complex, but still rather simple. You see the same timestamp diff function inside here, but I've cast that result as a float to get my decimal places, and then I'm going to calculate the average by employee role. Okay, and so what this does is it gives me a calculation for the average number of days by role, so I can see within each role, compare roles by user sign-in activity. I've gone ahead and added a filter here on status. I'm only interested in my active users, meaning the users that have an active license. Okay, so let's click over to step 2 here so you can kind of see what I've added to the layout. Just slide this out of the way here. And so if I scroll down a bit, you can see I've dropped a pivot table on here. And so by role, I'm calculating the average days since last sign-in, and I've plotted that out onto just a vertical bar chart here. Okay, and again, that's a simple pivot table with a pivot chart, and then of course the detail is down below if I want to get into the detail for each user. You of course could add additional views to this, different charts and so forth. Maybe even try a different column here other than role, such as manager or region or a business unit and so forth. Whatever makes sense to you. But what this does is it allows me to see that I've got a couple of roles out here that just aren't using the application the way I'd like them to, and I've got some that are really using it quite well. And if I scroll down into the detail here, I can actually get into each specific user, see what their last sign-in date and time was, and how long it's been since that date. Okay, so that's just a real quick, easy method for doing a little user adoption reporting. Expand on that and use it as you will. Also, this is our first recording of a YouTube video for this channel on YouTube, so I encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you'll get updates when we post new things. And of course, head over to the Intelenex website at www.intelenex.com, and you'll find a link to the blog over on the left, the IntelliNews blog, where you can find additional information from me and other experts from Intelenex. Thank you very much.